So first of all, I will introduce our company, our project. We are coming from Macedonia, and from the second part of the 2015, we are eligible to apply and to receive funds from media. Before that, we were eligible member of Eurimash. This kind of project developed almost 5 months. From the idea to the putting on the paper and applying in the media. With us in this project, we have also 2 partners coming, one of them from Albania and the second one from Croatia. The Croatian partner is Radar from Karlovac, and the Albanian partner is Tirana Film Institute from Tirana. This project includes 2 parts. We wanted to show that these kind of things can be done in this region. Of course, Martina already told that these things were maybe done in the past from some Western European countries, but in this region, none of us, and this is for the first time this kind of project. The first part of this project is festival to date. That means that at the same time, one film is shown in 2 festivals and in the same time on VOD platform. I didn't mention our company developed in the past 3 years, we developed a VOD platform, which is the first regional VOD platform which is connecting 13 countries from the Southeastern Europe. And we use this platform in this kind of project. So the festival to date, the festival to date was the first part of the project, and we screened the Dutch film Clean Hands at the same time in Cinedays Film Festival in Skopje and in Tirana Film Festival in Tirana on 11th of November 2016, and on the same time on the VOD platform. With this project, this part of this project, we managed to test the innovative distribution grounds, even the time limit for organizing the event, because we received the news from media at the end of October, and the festival event was 10 days after that. So the period was very short, but somehow we managed to do that. The second part of the project is day-to-date release, which is also include the third country, Croatian partner Radar. In this part, we distribute simultaneously in theaters, on VOD platform, and also on all these 3 countries, the Dutch children's film Little Gangster, which was dubbed in all these languages, in Macedonian, Albanian, and Croatian. And in the first week, we had, I think, very good results. For example, for our country, we had a record for the children title with almost 10,000 cinema admissions, which was screened in 19 theaters and 173 on the VOD platform. In the Croatia and Albania, the results were much lower than ours, but when we conduct all these results, we think that the project was successful. And with this project, we managed to show to Europe that this kind of project can be done in our region. The 2 titles that we choose to show and to screen on the festival, and after that and to day and date release, were European production, which comes from Netherlands, which is not so big production country with big production capacity, And if this project didn't exist in the region, and if we put only 2 official screenings in the theaters, I think that these numbers will be much low. So with this project, we achieved collaboration in too many kinds. First of all, we achieved festival collaboration between festivals in Skopje and in Tirana. The collaboration that was already established between us, like distributors with the Croatian partner and Albanian, strengthened more and more. And the media and all the people in this region recognize this, learn about these innovative things that are happening in the Western countries of Europe. And maybe, I think, will grow the knowledge about the new distribution activities and process, all together. This is short for the project. After that, I can explain. Yeah.
You also got the financing from the Macedonian film agency, right?
Yeah, we got a decision for financing this project, but up to now we never received the money. Maybe because of the changes in the government, maybe for some other reason that I don't know. But up to now we only have decisions from from February or March, something like that. But up to now we never signed a contract or received the money. So it's a bigger problem for us.
Yeah.
So this is the reality in these small countries.
And may I just ask you, since for the second time you're receiving media support for what was developed within this application?
The difference for this year.
Upgrade.
Yeah, the upgrade. Like media wants to show more and more innovative approach and new things to be done, and the new things that are going to, first of all, we already done the first part of the project previously, Friday and Saturday. We had, again, festival to date release, but this year we had 2 films instead of one of the last time. In Friday we screened in Skopje and in Tirana the German-Portuguese co-production Fado. And on Saturday we screened the children movie coming from Germany, Rafi. So this is connected with the festival to date. And the difference is we have 2 films instead of 1. The other innovative things are we are going to develop one web application for children movies who will be dedicated to children's. We are going to do and we'll put for free on Android and Play stores. The idea is all of the children's to be informed every time what's going to show in the theaters in Macedonia. This is like a pilot project which is only dedicated to Cinema Millennium in Skopje, and after that, if it's successful, we will upgrade to all around the country. The third thing is connected with the Art Cinema Frosina in Skopje, who is screening European titles. And some of the titles which are going to be screened in their theaters are going to be also at the same time screened on the VOD platform cinesquare.net. And the last thing that is new one in this project is multi-platform release, which is going to be done in April next year, when we are going to screen animation Danish animation film, which is going to be screened in Macedonia, Albania, in Croatia theatrically, all of these 3 countries also digital via Cinesquare, and also with the German VOD platform Pantoflix. So this is the multi-platform release. These are the things that are new in this project.
And you will remain with those 3 countries, right? Or,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the future. Before we go on, do you have any specific questions for Kirill and his project at the moment that interests you? The mic.
know more about the platform VOD and how do you promote it?
Yeah, this platform started this year in April. Was developed from ourselves. This project is supported by Ureda MEDIA 2 years ago, and right now we are waiting for their decision to give us the rest of the grant, because we finished the job and we sent all the paperwork. And so it's active on 13 countries, and the countries are all of ex-Yugoslavia, plus Romania, Albania, Greece, Turkey, Cyprus, and Bulgaria. So far, we don't have possibilities to make good marketing because of the financial things that are going to come, hopefully very soon. And after that, the plan is to go intensive marketing campaign in all these 13 countries, especially internet via we are negotiating with one of the biggest advertising company in the Eastern Europe. It's based in Poland, but has headquarters in Bulgaria. How was the name? I forgot, but I will tell you. So this is short description of the platform. We are buying and acquiring content from all these countries, and for the first part of the project, all these films will be only available for the countries, these 13 countries, and after, let's say, 2 years, we will open worldwide the VOD. Yeah, you can log in and watch. The domain is cinesquare.net. Yes?
Hello. So my question is, how do you actually acquire the content? Do you come as an aggregator, or you acquire the content separately for each country? And what is actually, do you have any subscription model? So how can we watch
yes,
the content, and if only from those 13 countries? Or, I mean, I'm quite interested in that. Thanks.
Right now, thank you for your question. Right now we have around 160 titles from all these 13 countries, mixed, like feature films, short films, animations, documentaries also. And we are acquiring non-exclusive rights. We are not going to call you, or when I was speaking with Martina, maybe it's better to come after this festival to present to Croatian producers our platform and to see if it's possible to make some agreements. Because of the acquiring non-exclusive rights, we are not able to pay NG, but we are paying all the costs for translation, for formatting these film files, and making ourselves the marketing strategy. So right now it's working only for these 13 countries. And if you already have sold some of the rights in let's say Bulgaria and Serbia, we can geo-block these 2 countries, and your film will be watchable only for the rest 11.
Still someone, or we can move on? We can move on, so thank you, Kira. Philip, now it's your turn. Yes.
Okay, looks good. Well, first of all, thank you very much again for having me. Bring me to Zagreb to present ECVI, the European Cinema and VOD Initiative. To give you a little bit of a background about myself, I come from the very traditional sales, international sales world. So I used to work for a sales company for many years, and what do you use that one? Yeah. And started my own company, which is called Rochlik Media, some years ago, and we started a project in Germany called Kino on Demand, which you can see here on the left, and together with at this point 2 other projects, Pickle from the Netherlands and La Toile from France, we started a network called ECVI. So in order to really explain what this is about, let me just briefly, very briefly, talk about the digital market in general, because that's how, depending on how we see the market, it is what drives us with our own projects. So actually, these are official European numbers. So currently we have 70 VOD services. I think actually it's a little bit more. VOD services targeting the German market and 240 services all across Europe. I think if we do a little brainstorming here and everybody writes down the VOD companies they know, we might end up with 20, maybe 30, but that's it. So in fact, it's much, much more, which is going on there. In Germany, we have 18 services being with a focus on feature film and 17 more focusing on film and TV fiction. But the most interesting number from my point of view is the last one. It's that 400 hours of new material are uploaded to YouTube every minute. So if you go home tonight and want to catch up with what's on YouTube today, the time might be a little bit short. So meaning there's a lot of stuff going on. And this number is now 2 years old, and I doubt that it went down, because the years before, YouTube published that number on its website and went up from 50 to 100, 200, 300. 400 was the last one we can find. I'm sure it's probably at 600, 700 in the meantime. So there's a lot of stuff going on. So if you take a look at the digital market in general, for the audience, for the viewers, it looks like that. It's a completely overcrowded place, and it's very hard to find good content. An experience I make, and I'm sure many other people do, and maybe some of you do, is on a regular evening when you sit back home on a sofa and you say, oh, you know, we could watch a film online. But what do we watch? How do you start? How does it go? Well, my experience is I'll search for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. You know, I could watch this one, I could watch that one, or there's another one I could watch, but that I could watch also next week. Meaning, it takes an endless time to find the right film to watch, particularly when you're not alone, but if your boyfriend or girlfriend is next to you, or if you're a group of friends back home, you want to watch something. In the end, you might decide for whatever, the 128th episode of Modern Family or something like that. So this is the everyday user experience. And from our point of view at our company, we believe that people are getting more and more fed up with, you know, the unlimited choice. Of course, if you ask people what they want to have, they would ask, of course, you want to have a lot of choice. But a lot of choice is challenging, because you have to make a decision what you want to watch. And on the other hand, we all know this experience as well. The experience is of your local cinema. Because the local cinema provides you a program which they already, so to say, curated or filtered, right? So it's, even in the multiplex, you might have 10 films at the same time, but still it's relatively limited amount of films. So the choice, what you want to watch, is relatively easy. I'm sure you never went to a cinema and wanted to watch something and went back home because you didn't see anything except it was sold out or something. Usually the decision you make, or you actually make a decision when you go to the cinema, either before or maybe at the cinema. At the same time, cinemas are local brands, right? No exhibitor, no cinema owner would program its own plays against its own local audience. They actually know who's coming through the door every evening, putting whatever 5 or 10 euros on the table and want to watch a film. And that's an actual strength in the whole film exploitation chain nobody else has. Which again is the reason why we came across that idea, why shouldn't cinemas do VOD? In addition to what they offer on the big screen. Because what they do is in fact working as a brand from the marketing point of view. And it's a very traditional, you know, setup as a brand, as a local brand. Because they give audience orientation and guidance in an overcrowded space. If you connect theatrical and VOD, actually you can connect this offline and online distribution. We can help cinemas widening and enhancing their customer loyalty and actually extending the cinema's value chain into the digital market. Because at the cinema right now it's very easy. If the film is off the screen, there's no more value chain for the cinema. There's no more value to be generated for the cinema. So, European Cinema and VOD Initiative. What we do is actually connecting cinemas and VOD across Europe. Along the example of Kino on Demand in Germany, it's a service we run in Germany under this brand. Let me explain a little bit further how it actually works. And I think even though you might not speak German, the trailer's in German, but maybe you get an idea of what this is about already.
Schön, dass Sie da sind. Ihr Kino kommt jetzt auch zu Ihnen. Mit Kino on Demand genießen Sie auch zu Hause nur noch erstklassige Filme. Ausgewählt von Ihrem Kino. Online auf dem Fernseher, dem Computer, Tablets und Smartphones. Kino on Demand ist der schönste Zeitvertreib. Bis zum nächsten Kinobesuch. Kino on Demand. Du kommst ins Kino und dein Kino kommt zu dir. Weitere Infos an der Kinokasse und im Internet.
So this is a trailer we run at the cinemas which use Kino on Demand or offer Kino on Demand just before the actual film within a trailer reel. So again, what we do is we extend the cinema's value chain into the digital market. And technically it works like that we implement a shop, an individually branded shop, on the cinema's website, where the cinema can actually offer a program which works in addition to its actual film program on the big screen. Of course, you know, technically it's all based on our systems, and we take care of the entire licensing process, so the cinemas do not have, or the exhibitors do not have to talk with the distributors about the digital licenses. That's all what we do. And here are some examples of shops we have. But on their back end, an exhibitor can log in to their own back end and can choose the films we have available within our system, which they want to have available within the individual shops. So it's not only individually branded, it's also individually curated. So the exhibitor decides what they offer their local audience. It's a very important point. The thing is that, of course, the cinema should not offer whatever 100, 200, 300, 500 films at the same time. It's a very limited, or as you would say, curated offer of approximately between 5 and 10 films at the same time being available in one shop. Again, going back to the beginning, this is what makes the decision for the individual user very easy, because they know it's a recommendation by their exhibitor. The exhibitor somehow knows what they want. And we see that in our numbers. The average conversion rate in e-commerce, conversion rate is the number of people actually buying something who are on a shop to take a look at something, is in a good case scenario is 1%. We are relatively stable between 4 and 6%, sometimes even more than 10%, meaning within the specific target audience we reach, the offer works incredibly well because it is very focused and very curated to a very specific audience. And that's, you know, a lot of what the digital market is about from my point of view. Another very important aspect, just to mention that briefly, is of course data. So meaning it's our own platform, basically we see everything. Of course we see where the consumer, where the user comes from, through which channel he or she comes, you know, what stuff they take a look at, what they maybe not buy, what trailers they take a look at. So we can actually learn a lot about the local audience, which is also a resource the cinema owner usually doesn't have or did not have so far. Meaning we go much deeper at this point than exhibitors can actually go right now, and offer them a huge resource about their own audience. Of course, we're sending out newsletters, and we're connecting all these data together in order to give them, the exhibitors, a lot of information about their local audience. At the same time, just to briefly talk about our partners, recently La Toile launched in French. That's the French version of the service run by our partners at Kako MI. It technically works on our own platform, and is basically the same. They started with 5 cinemas recently. They'll have 30 cinemas by the end of the year. Actually, the French cinemas love the idea. They could have much more already, but of course, it's a question of capacity. And last but not least, our friends from Pickle in the Netherlands, which technically work on a separate platform, but it's the same service with one big difference, though. In the Netherlands, they do day and date, meaning they offer the same films online as on the big screen. In France and Germany, we don't do that. First of all, we legally can't do it because there are laws against it. Plus, let's say the exhibitors are not the biggest friends of that idea, and that's a major difference toward the situation in the Netherlands. So what we do in France and Germany is we offer a complementary program. So either films which have been previously at the cinema, or films which fit to current releases at the cinema. So we talked a lot about Toni Erdmann today. So when Toni Erdmann was released in German cinemas last year, at the same time we offered the previous film by the director, Maren Ade, which is called Alle anderen, Everyone Else, at the same time as VOD through the cinemas. And it worked perfectly well, because the audience perfectly understood why that film is online now, and why they want to watch it. And we've been able to sell a film which at that time was 7 years old for a very high price point, because it just had the right context of being offered to audiences. Though if they would have started to look at other platforms, I'm sure they would have found 20 other platforms for a much lower price point, but they stuck with the cinema. And that's the point. Meaning the cinema is able to activate even library films and make them available to audiences. Of course, beside Creative Europe, we're funded by a number of other institutions all across Europe, usually in our individual countries. And last but not least, we have one partner on board, one partner more on board now, which is Netkino, a company from Norway. And they will launch now in 2018, actually offering even a slightly different model, what they call cinematic catch-up. So meaning the film is at the cinemas until today, and as of tomorrow, the film is available online. So within our system, within our network, we can compare actually different life cycle models of films, which is also very interesting and should give us a lot of insights. Okay, I think that's it. So if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. Thank you.
We do have representatives of the Croatian Art House Cinema Network, I believe, or no, not really. Yeah, Andrea is here, and yeah, I'm just curious how if somebody from Croatia wants to become a partner. So first, for example, it will be good to use the Art House Cinema Network in Croatia, but then we need to develop our own video demand, right? And then to if somebody wants to join you from Croatia, what do they need to do?
Just approach me and contact me. No, it's very, no, it's just kidding. No, it's very simple. Because in fact we're an open network.
Okay.
So of course we want to grow and add services from other countries. And basically there are different models possible. So let's say we have partners which use their own technology, mainly because it was in place already before we started to work with each other. The other model is that we work on the same technical platform as we and the French do. Which economically and logistically, in terms of economic risk, makes a lot of sense, because basically there's no need to develop another technology which is there 25 times already. And the entire, let's say, technological platform is made for international use. So it's the same back end which each partner can use, and always the front end, so to say, what the user and the exhibitor sees is adapted to the local market. In terms of branding, in terms of legal requirements, in terms of tax requirements and all that stuff. Because that's maybe one more thing I should add, we don't believe that there's a one-size-fits-all across Europe, unless you're a really, really big service. So in terms of the business model, in terms of the branding, we adopt to the local market. Because each local market, though the problems, though the basic problems are the same ones in many cases, they still work differently. Right, and that's why it's called La Toile in France, and they have their own, particular setup. That's why in Germany it's called Kino on Demand. That's why in the Netherlands it's called Pickle. And it's not about, let's say, adopting or let's say imposing brands on other markets, but of course each and every market can find its own way of doing it.
So they approach you, and you're the one handling the rights and
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Good. Good. So maybe a suggestion for the Croatian Art House Cinema Network.
Yes, please.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Carolina? Yeah, there we go. But
okay, so my question is in regards to licensing and how that works. So the cinemas don't typically own the rights to the film, it's the distributors that own the rights to the film. So is the process for you one of making a curatorial suggestion to the cinema, and then going to license the rights from the distributor? And in France and Germany, are you releasing on the cinema platform on the same day, for example, that you're releasing on iTunes? And then how do you share in the revenues? Because then normally it's the platform and the distributor, but in this case it's cinema platform distributor.
Well, let's say in terms of the licensing, first of all, we're not, let's say, stepping in between the distributor and the cinema for the theatrical side. We're just, licensing within the VOD space. And the licensing basically works as for every other VOD platform, meaning we ask the distributors for non-exclusive rights. TVOD rights, because, sorry, I should have said that, because all we do is TVOD. We don't offer subscription, it's all transactional. The process is like that we, with the distributors we're working with, we have, let's say, basically output deals. So we have access to the entire library of available TVOD titles, which is a lot. So we work with distributors like NFP, we work with Christoph, who we saw earlier, we work with Studio Canal, we work with Pandora, Pro Kino, so all the regular German art house distributors. And the curational process with the exhibitors is a two-way street. So yes, we give recommendations, according to the current release calendar or to what we think might currently fit, but they still have the opportunity to pick their own content. And we saw that early, they have their own backend where they can literally click on their films and then they are online. So either they are already within the system, or they tell us, oh, it's not there yet, but I know you have it on your avails list. Can you make it available? And it usually takes a few days, and then it's within the system, and they can absolutely choose whatever they think fits to their local audience. Yeah. So the other part, of course, the revenue share. It is a little bit depending on individual agreements, because you're absolutely right. It's three parties in this game, which it's not a secret, which does not leave 50% for us. So that's why it's incredibly important that we have the support, because otherwise it would be very thin for us at this point. Yeah. Did I miss a part of your question? Okay, good.
So what does the distributor get and what does the cinema get?
The distributors usually get their regular share, which is around 50%. Sometimes a little higher, sometimes a little deeper. So what they tell, that's an ongoing discussion with them. They say, why should we take less from you than from iTunes? Yes, understood. What we keep telling them, even your library films, we can activate them much better. And we sell them for €5 instead of €3 on iTunes. So you get more money anyway. So that's an ongoing discussion. And the cinemas usually get 25%. So now it's easy to make the calculation, always depending on individual agreements, but that's kind of the range we're talking about.
And at what stage actually do you enter the discussions, and when do you jump in to book the contents actually, to make them available?
At this point, we have a monthly program. So we changed the program at the beginning of the month. We want to speed that up to twice a month. But let's say it's 2-3 weeks in advance. We'll reach out to the cinema, say, hey, we have new films on board. This is what we suggest for, let's say, for the month of December. Do you want to have those films? Do you have your own ones? And then it goes step by step. So it's with a little bit of a, let's say 2 to 3 weeks advance.
And I'm not sure if I have missed this, but what happens then with the contents after the release, let's say, has ended? Is it still available?
No.
Or no?
No. Actually, it's a long discussion within our company. But I am, again, that's why I started with that view on the digital market. I'm an absolute believer in focused offers. And I think there's a huge market outside the major one-stop shops, namely Netflix, iTunes, so on and so forth. Therefore, I believe that it really needs to be small. And small, in that sense, from my point of view, is absolutely not a weakness, it's an actual strength. And if you even historically, if you take a look at film distribution, film exploitation, the life cycle of the films goes always in waves. It never went straight, it went up, maybe except if you have Star Wars or something. Well, you have a constant high income of revenues. With all the smaller films, it doesn't work like that. And I think that's one of the biggest general misunderstandings toward the digital market, to think, okay, I put my film somewhere out there, and all of a sudden I have that constant flow of revenue, even if it's small, out of the digital market. That's absolutely not our experience. You know, I mean, all of us know that the films tend to drown, and but in order to make films seen, they need to be activated. They need to be made aware to the audiences, and that's what we do here. We put films in front and make them visible to a very specific target audience, and that's why even as a relatively small service, which is still young and fragile and everything, with a handful of cinemas all across Germany, if I compare our numbers with what we see from the smaller platforms in Germany we work with as a regular licensor, we're not so bad. It actually works very efficiently, and that's the point. And that's absolutely the way we want to go in the future, by being very targeted and very focused.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
How do you deal with films from our region?
It's a good question. I mean, let's say if the distributors we work with have films from the region here, which is actually the case because again that they're regular art house distributors, we have them within our whales. But honestly, I would have to look up how many Southeastern European films we have in the catalog. All over, we have like 2,000 films available right now.
I just wanted to ask, does it ever happen that actually the cinemas and the distributors agree to actually promote on your platform a new film, just to see your platform as a new way of promotion of the new film that is actually released in cinema? It doesn't have to be completely parallel like the day of the premiere, but is it like the curatorial part of your platform usually dealing with films which are in a way connected so that they can be promoted, or it happens that you actually do sometimes negotiate with the distributor that you actually somehow release it parallelly and that it's additional promotion?
The thing is, in Germany, is that there's not much to negotiate, to be honest. There's a very clear view on actually both the cinemas and most of the distributors that we have to stick to the windows period. There's not much more we can do, which is okay. It's a very delicate question, and with a lot of emotion, and we're not stepping into that. So what we do is we work strictly along the windows, but many distributors, for example, give us their films as early as iTunes. So meaning within the VOD space, we're absolutely, let's say, in time
up to date
for the releases. Again, it's a completely different thing in the Netherlands. There they do day and date for very high price points. So we're talking about, let's say, 9 or 10 euros. So it's approximately the same as the cinema ticket. And there, you can call it cultural difference or whatever the reason is, but there the cinema is actually very open to do that, and they love it. And the numbers are great. Yeah.
And this is my second question I wanted to ask you. Maybe you mentioned it, but I haven't noticed. Regarding the prices that you have on your VOD platform, how does it relate to the cinema ticket? I heard that you mentioned the price, but I don't know how it relates to your cinema ticket.
We see ourselves more in competition with other VOD platforms.
Yeah.
So we have pretty much a standard price, which is €5 for a 48-hour rental, which is comparable with a new film HD TVOD on iTunes. That's approximately the same price. The thing is that the audience we reach, our target audience, is a very typical art house audience. So slightly older, slightly more female. So it's not the 16-year-old teenager who wants to see a lot of stuff for zero money. And in fact, they're less price sensitive, and that's why we are able to sell even older films, or definitely library films, for a relatively high price point, because they don't care so much. We even thought about raising the price point a little higher at some cinemas, because it might be worth. Well, we didn't do that yet, but that might be an option in the future, which puts us, in fact, in a very lucky position, to be honest.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Or we can move on? Okay.
Of course, otherwise I'm here afterwards.
Yes,
yeah.
of course. So thank you. And the last but not the least, Vincent Lucassen, the project Under the Milky Way. Very.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here and having the opportunity to tell you a little bit about our work and our company. My name is Vincent Lucassen. I'm based in Vienna, born in Holland, live in the center of Europe since many years. I started actually working as a documentary film producer and was always looking into innovative ways of bringing our documentaries to the public. In Austria, it's not an easy market. Cinema visitors are not that frequent. So digital in the beginning of the 2000s was already becoming very interesting for us as well. So we participated also in digital cinema initiatives when digital cinema was not yet an issue. And later on we also started with VOD in 2006 with a German platform with German producers. And it was called onlinefilm.org, it still exists. But we didn't sell a lot of films because they did not have that much marketing budget and different technology. So that was actually one of the reasons where I came into contact with a group of people living in France, and we were looking for going and working with the big platforms who were at that moment preparing themselves to come to Europe. At least there you can be sure that you have an international infrastructure and you can bring your films, sell your films across borders. And that was actually the beginning of Under the Milky Way, where we started our first nightly conferences with iTunes, the people in Los Angeles, to find a way of how we could deliver films to them. And since that we do that, and we have specialized ourselves on art house and art house films, documentaries. So it was clear that those big American platforms, they need European films to be present in Europe as well, to have a European face as well. And in that sense, we saw a good possibility to cooperate with them, to aggregate films for them. Because it's not possible yourself that you go to iTunes and say, I have a film. You have to go through a so-called aggregator. And we are one of them. And we work with them since, 5-6 years now. And it also means that we saw that iTunes is one of the first at that time, but other global platforms are doing the same. So we try to be in a position that we can handle with one master from your film all those global platforms, so that we actually save costs in delivery and bring the films on these platforms. So that it's easier possible, because it is a lot about having films present on all those platforms and at the same time not spending too much money on having the films there, because it's small margins that you get back from there. It's not about big money at once, it's a lot of many small sales. We're talking only about transactional VOD, or mainly about transactional VOD, so every sale on one of those platforms is registered and is registered and counted with you later on. Okay, being in that position since 5 years, we can say we have now 4,000 films that we curate, or that we have in our database, that we work for the right holders, have these films on many platforms. We have global contracts with iTunes, Microsoft, Amazon, Sony and Google. So we work with them on a global scale, so we have the possibility from every country in Europe or in the world going into every other country. So it means we are in an interesting position that we can move all those films globally around. We can put them in all those stores. Okay, putting the stores, making the films available, that's only the first step of starting to sell a film. So you have the film available. But of course it's important that your film is visible there and that people want to buy it. And one of the aspects we actually are using in the fact that we are in this central position, or in the position where so many films come with us and we put them out there, we can start to curate certain films, so group them together. And we proposed this idea to the European Commission, and they liked it, that the idea of bringing films together in a curation in, let's say, 5, 6 titles which fit together under a theme, and bring them on the platforms like this, and ask the platform to promote them like this. So that is why it's called Walk This Way. So come with us, walk with us in the same way. And under this theme, we bring your film and we bring it on the platforms. So this is actually a cooperation of many groups on the market. So what we actually did is we invited sales companies to bring us titles or select with us together film titles. For example, especially for that kind of territories where they did not make an all rights deal, because normally the sales company try to get an all right deal in the territory, theatrical, VOD, TV, whatever. So those territories are gone, but there are still many left in Europe where they still could go and go directly on VOD. So it's some kind of matrix you get there, that the sales companies propose films where they have still territories that they would like to exploit, and we offer them other films from other sales, and together we make this bunch of films, and then together with a marketing company and a promotion company, we try and bring them on the platforms. So yeah, it is actually what I'm writing. So what we try to do is to bundle it. We try also to, or what is important, that we have this whole workflow in place. So what we do is we get the master, but we also have some additional money to have the possibility to produce subtitle versions to make it possible to go in additional territories. And we have this marketing budget attached. So we have to organize the whole legal part with all the platforms, making the deals in place, fix a certain start date that everybody and all platforms start at the same date. Like I said, the subtitling, the encoding, and then the international distribution. So yeah, we had, for example, the possibilities of collections is the award-winning life stories, Men of the Edge. You see here that you get this kind of combinations of titles, what we promoted. We started with this in 2016, and the 2 consecutive years we do it also. So 2017 is running right now, and 2018 is being prepared at this moment. This is what we did in 2016. We had 44 films from 13 EU countries, released in 90 territories with 18 languages. In total it were almost 1,000 releases, 233 subtitles were produced, and in total 32,000 units were sold, which is a moderate a number, of course, if you see what all the work that has to be done. But it was actually the first time that we tried something like this in 2016, and it developed since then better and better. So what we could show is that we can handle this kind of supply management, so that we can really bundle a lot of titles and organize this in this way. And it's of course very challenging to also try to reach other platforms, not only the big and global ones. The EU Commission, of course, wants us also to work with national platforms, which is a good idea. So there were other platforms involved, like Filmin in Spain, or Universiné, Flimit in Austria. So yeah, the idea is also that we also could go to outside the EU and bring films in the US and Japan. Because if you have the master in place and you have the subtitle version in place, with, for example, English, you can go into around 66 countries on iTunes. So for the same money, you can also put the films there. So it was allowed by the EU Commission to go also outside the EU. Well, this is more about the practical side of things. Yeah, Croatian title, The High Sun. Well, this is actually what we did since then a few times. And so it's beside the normal work we do on the basis of a one-by-one title. This is an example of the combination of things can also work and can even give better visibilities. Because the platforms they like, especially the global platforms, they don't do that much on curation, in our opinion. And they like if we come with a very elaborated idea and also with additional promotion. So this is what the film agency did, that they paid for blogs and they published in Cineuropa. They had their own Walk This Way blog. They were liaising with other PR companies. They did Facebook ads. And well, they had sometimes also conversion rates between 1% and 2% if people went that far and went to the platform, that they really start buying films. So it's also about creating awareness, creating a way of getting people to see these films if they have no other reason to go there, or if they want to have an evening at home and look at a film. And it also works, this social media advertising, that you are very active online with Facebook ads and blogs. It is actually one click away then to get to the films, which also makes sense. So this is in the end more about the figures of 2017. We did more films, not even that much more. Territories, we expanded the amount of releases, subtitle versions a little bit less, and the box office from 2017 is not clear yet. But there is a clear growth in the amount of units we sell through this program. And this is about the grant we got for 2018. So then we do 45 films, a total budget of 1.5 million. And these are the sales also involved. Okay, I think that's it, more or less. Yeah, you see, of course, where the most of the titles came from. France and Germany, most from them. Portugal, but actually quite well divided over Europe. And it is clear that the European Commission is very excited about the program. They keep supporting it. And we also see good opportunities also to develop certain territories which were not that well developed before. Okay, thanks.
I guess it's just more of a general point from the producers and the filmmakers' point of view. And we were talking a little bit yesterday about we've filmed it under the Milky Way, or aggregating for a few years back. But I guess the thing that struck us is that without all the correct promotion and the films do get lost slightly on these platforms, I find, without. So you really need to kind of empower those filmmakers to, promote them or push them or figure out a kind of a way to get, as many views as they can on the actual project. Because I do find, even when you go to Netflix, for example, you're bombarded with, these are the selections for you, and you're kind of like, well, these are the selections that Netflix have made, that's why they want you to choose. So you're kind of a little bit skeptical about sometimes the recommendations. But I just think it's a kind of an interesting thing to discuss about, just the way, if you have any ideas of how to increase awareness, or do you work with those filmmakers to try and strategize, or is it more a case of trying to does the producer need to kind of hire some sort of outside social media presence to help the aggregators and the platforms in terms of building awareness of the product so it stands out from the crowd?
Yeah, sure. I mean, this is actually our daily work, and this is more an example of what is a special program. And especially if the EU wants actually films to travel across borders, we help them to fill in those territories where those films would not come without us, so to say. Yeah, so this is a very specific program. But if we talk on the normal aggregation work, if we aggregate a film, we have contact with the producer or the distributor, depending on who's coming to us. And of course, we talk about the strategy for each film. And depending on what the promotion is attached to it. Is there a budget for it or not, or can we provide something? But of course, it is so important, especially with documentaries, we see again and again that, important that the right holders, they know actually their public the best. They know exactly what public they want to target. And we start brainstorming of where can we bring this film so that it will be effective in that market. So, Bulgarian film that we released in the US, we talked about actually getting all the contacts from through the Bulgarian embassy in the US by getting through their newsletter and informing people that this film would be available. Or we did with Irish Films, we did a cooperation with the Irish Film Board that we started releasing on VOD Irish films during Patrick Day in the US. So there are many things. I did also a project with Swiss Films, and they had some very beautiful films on different parts of folk and country music, and we did a special on VOD in the US also with that. So there are many ways on how you can use this infrastructure actually. It is there, it is not expensive, and it is a question of being creative. And we try to do our part with the whole legal point, the whole financial point. We try to be very transparent, that people get their report in time and that everything functions well. We have more than 600 rights holders now on board, and they all stay because they get every 3 months their overview of what they have sold worldwide on which platform. So it's quite a thing what we build up there. And actually it's open for use, so to say, in the sense that if you have a brilliant promotion idea, and people are coming with that, you know, that they want, for example, there was this film during the financial crisis about this banker, and it was actually the Master of the Universe, and they came out at the right moment with that film. And it brought in the US a really quite strong response because, it was the right timing and the right channels we used to promote that film. So, there are many options open, and there's not more to say.
Well, the first time I came across Under the Milky Way, it was regarding to the project Digital Nomads. I think that maybe it could be interesting to hear how you also use your platform and your channels to get languages that are underrepresented a new public and a new territory, right?
Thank you for the question. That was actually a project we started 2 years ago. I would need maybe a few slides from the other part from Suburbia. That was actually the European Commission came to us. They said the European Parliament had a discussion. I think the Polish and the Hungarian representative were seeing that films were so successful on VOD, but it was all on pirates channels in those countries, but they were available with many good subtitles. So why can we not do this with European films? That was actually the idea. So then the commission from CNext started discussing about how can we probably help them with production of subtitles and improve the production of subtitles. And we actually like this idea because we see on a daily basis that the production of the workflow of subtitles is very chaotic. Producers don't think about it too much. The film is ready. The first invitation for the festival comes. If it is an international festival, the English subtitles have to be made. Or is it Moscow or whatever? Maybe they also get Russian subtitles, but they are made somewhere. They don't come back to the producer or the sales. So are they useful? Of course they are useful later on for VOD, but producers or distributors think too little about that, and it would be much better to keep that all under control, to have one very good master in the beginning, a template, and on the basis of which you make your subtitles, and all the subtitles can be made on this platform. They stay there, and they can be used in festivals or whatever. So if a festival translator wants to make a subtitle, they can go online, produce a subtitle for their festival, but you as a producer can also use it later on for VOD. So that was the idea behind it. Very technical, sorry. But we also had the idea, or the commission asked us not only do subtitling, but also do something with it. Show that you can make those films available. So we decided to concentrate on a group of films about refugees. We called our label Global Nomads. And we started talking to United Nations, UNHCR, because we thought it is very important to, in these times, you know, politics and so on, to have good films on refugees available worldwide. So we actually wanted to take a group of that kind of films, subtitle them with EU money, and make them available worldwide, and then actually release them on World Refugee Day, June 20. So that is what we did. So we worked on this 1.5 years, and it was very difficult. UNHCR started discussing with me, well, should we work with iTunes? You know, we don't like iTunes. It's a big multinational. They're not so, I mean, and then, you know, the whole refugee issue. I said, I mean, and I told them my story, that I was very pragmatic in using this kind of infrastructure because they are not my friends, but I think they have a great technology, and why not use it for our purposes? And then one of the co-workers there said at the office, but we have also Apple Computer. We even have a standard contract with Apple, so what's the problem? So at a certain moment, then it made skip, and and that was really 2 weeks before Cannes, and then they decided to also promote the Global Nomads initiative on their tweet account. So they have 2 million followers. So it was really great that this happened, and we are keeping doing this. So every year on the June of 20, we keep releasing films on refugee. So we add new titles. So I'm aggregating also coming week at IDFA, and if I see a film here, I'm really interested in getting more films, and under the label of Digital Global Nomads, we keep doing this.
Thank you. Yeah. Anyone else, or? Yeah, let's see. Well, thank you, Vincent. Yeah, you also deserve it.